not known for my baking. I think baking is a chemistry process. So I'm anxious to see what you can teach us today. Should be fun.
Great, well I hope so.
Yes.
I think so. I'm making today one of my favorite all-time breads. It's one that we've been making in Metropolitan Bakery since day one, 16 years ago. It's a chocolate cherry bread. Now, how I was inspired to make that bread, I'll talk to you a little bit later.
Let's say hello to our guests. Hi, I'm Tina Marie and welcome to the Chef's Kitchen. Today I'm joined by Chef James Barrett of Metropolitan Bakery and our chef in training. We have Simon here from the restaurant school at Walnut Hill College, who's actually graduating tomorrow from the associate's program at the restaurant school. So this is
a great thing.
Wonderful. Really exclusive partnership between the restaurant school and the Chef's Kitchen, culinary education at its finest.
Which is the most important.
Absolutely. So let's get going with our bread.
So what we're going to start with is our leavener. So at the bakery, I use a sourdough starter, and this is a starter that it's a 14-day process. It's natural. I capture the natural yeast, the wild yeast, if you will, in the air. It's a 14-day process, but instead of doing that, what I prepared for you, I created just an overnight starter, if you will. Okay, so it's using commercial yeast, which is perfectly acceptable.
So any home baker could do this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then for any home baker that has their own natural starter that they use on a regular basis, just simply substitute the same quantity when we get to the bread dough.
Oh, perfect. Okay, very good.
So we're going to start by using some water. I'm going to take about a quarter cup of water, and into that I'm going to dissolve some dry yeast. Now this is dry yeast, and the water is about 90 degrees to dissolve the dry yeast. Do not use the instant dry yeast for this.
Okay.
This is regular commercial packets. It usually comes in threes.
The 3-pack. I think we all have it in our pantry, depending on
pretty
how often
common.
we use it. Yes, it is.
I'm going to, just to activate it, I'm going to dissolve some sugar in that.
Okay.
Okay, and then I would wait just to make sure that the yeast is active and it will become creamy, and you'll be able to tell. For the purpose of time, we're going to proceed.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to add in some bread flour.
This is not all-purpose flour.
No, this is a bread flour. So when I say bread flour, it's about 11% protein.
Okay.
And that just is the strength, as opposed to an all-purpose flour, which is probably anywhere from 7 to 9%.
Okay, very good to know.
So it's you want a little more strength for bread, whereas an all-purpose flour is better for pastry or cookies. I'm just going to stir this together, and it's going to become a creamy kind of pancake batter. Okay, so now I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to allow it to sit in a cool place in my kitchen overnight. About 24 hours.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is it's going to rise, it's going to become bubbly, and then it is going to sink a little bit.
Okay. Cool, dark place? Is that important?
Cool, dark place. Yeah. Ideally, if you have a 70-degree, neighborhood in your kitchen, that's perfect.
Nice little corner. I think we all have that little nook in our kitchen.
Okay. So now it's overnight. The dough, the starter has risen. It's fallen, and so now this is what we have. So this is our sourdough starter. So if you look really closely, you can see the very, very tiny air
granules.
bubbles.
Yes.
And we're going to start by putting that into our mixer.
Okay.
Then we're going to add our water.
And what temperature is this water? Or
The water, it does matter. And for whenever I'm making sourdough breads, I want a fairly cool temperature. Sourdough's like cool temperature, so it's about 70 degrees, 70 to 74. Okay? So then I'm just going to start mixing that very gently, just to make sure that the starter is incorporated into the water. Then I'm going to add just a little burst of more commercial yeast, just a tiny, and that is the reason for that is the cocoa that we're going to add is very heavy, and so it just needs a little bit extra just to help lift. Little bit of oomph.
I understand.
Okay? Once that's dissolved, I'm going to put the mixer on low, and then I am going to very slowly start adding in my flour. Again, this is bread flour.
Again.
Very slowly with the mixer on low because you don't want it to shoot all over the place.
Okay. Yes. And this is the paddle attachment.
This is the dough hook attachment.
Oh, the dough hook.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so chocolate bread is not anything new. They've been making this in Italy for many years.
Yes.
And so on one of my trips to Florence, I visited a bakery and they had a chocolate bread, and I thought, oh, how beautiful and delicious that looks. when I tasted it, it had the texture of brioche. It was very light,
Eggy?
and it was eggy, and it was very faint as far as chocolate is concerned.
Yes.
And I'm a chocolate person, and so if
Yes.
when I crave chocolate, I want chocolate. So when I came back and I was thinking about that bread, it was just staying in my mind, and I thought, oh. Chocolate bread, it needs to be, a bread, it needs to be a cake, a brownie, so when you eat it, what is it, really?
Yes, right.
So our sourdough starter kind of enhances the chocolate flavor, and the whole texture of this bread is a cross between all those aforementioned things.
Oh.
Yeah, really
Wow.
delicious.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more from the Chef's Kitchen. We now return to the Chef's Kitchen. So you took what you learned over there, or what you tasted.
What I
over
tasted,
there,
yep.
and then you sort of tweaked it.
Exactly.
Your own artisanal bread.
Exactly.
And this is a lot of what you do there at Metropolitan.
Yes.
Artisanal bread making.
Exactly. So now I'm adding in some brown sugar, and then on low again, okay, we're going to add cocoa.
Now what kind of cocoa?
Yeah, that's
important.
That's a very good question. The cocoa that I use, you want to use an alkalized cocoa. If you use a natural cocoa, that's not alkalized,
Right.
it's pale in color. And so the color of your final chocolate cherry bread will be kind of like bland and like blood.
Like sandy almost, not rich,
Very
dark.
pale, not rich and
Yes.
dark and luscious,
Especially
right?
since you said you're a chocoholic. So you
right.
want it to look it, taste
Exactly.
it, feel it. Right.
So now as we're mixing, we just want to make sure and see if it needs any help. Sometimes you'll need to add extra water if the dough is not quite coming together.
Okay, if it looks kind of maybe dry.
If it looks a
or-
little dry. And so it's a good idea to always have some extra water on hand,
Sure.
just in case. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm just going to mix it to a shaggy mess.
Okay.
Okay, make it
Shaggy mass.
shaggy
there it
mess.
is,
And
hanging
then I'm
off the
going to add a
dough book.
little bit of salt, okay?
Okay.
And then we are going to let it rest, and that's what's called an autolyse. And during the autolyse, it's just a resting period for the proteins in the flour kind of to swell and accept all the water and all the other delicious things that we're going to be
Yes.
adding. It's a resting period, so
And you're leaving it right there in the mixer?
just right there.
Okay.
Come back.
For how long?
Go make some phone, 15 minutes.
Okay.
So go make a phone call, scream at the
some adding.
kids, you know,
In my case, yes.
whatever you need to do. Okay.
Yes.
Come back, and then 15 minutes later, we're going to turn it back on. And what you will see is it has smoothed itself out, and it's kind of come together. It's relaxed.
Interesting.
Okay. And now comes more good part.
Oh, and I see some cherries, and I see some more chocolate, but in a different form now.
So now what we're going to do, just to borrow from that brioche kind of
Yes.
technique, is we're going to start adding butter. And we're going to start adding butter while it's mixing. And this is how you would make a brioche, but this
So while it's mixing,
is not going to make it incredibly light. It's just going to make it
Rich,
so
right?
rich and
and
so,
it's so flavorful,
delicious.
and
Yeah,
just even highlight the chocolate even
exactly.
more.
Exactly.
And is it a particular batch of butter? I mean,
This is unsalted butter,
Unsalted.
and I do use a really high fat butter.
okay.
Yeah,
European
just like
style
your
butter?
European style,
Okay.
just like your cocoa powder. If
Yes.
you use, a really good quality, if I may say some names like Valrhona or Calabo, a dark cocoa that is alkalized, and the same with your butter. You want a good quality, but there are a lot of butters that are made here in Vermont, even,
Yes.
that make really good high fat butters that are
Good to
perfect
know.
substitute, but no salt. We already measured the salt and
We
control
added
the
it already.
quantity in the dough. Okay. So now that is going to knead it. We're going to continue kneading, and the dough will really not come away from the sides of the bowl
So it's on medium
until
speed?
about 9 minutes. It's going to
Okay.
take anywhere from 6 to 9 minutes. And then what you want to look for is a final dough temperature of 75 degrees.
Okay.
And so after 5 minutes, if it's not there yet, then don't panic. Just let it keep mixing. The friction and the heat will generate the heat of the dough.
It's okay. Okay.
And then you
It's
take an
okay to
instant
keep
read
mixing.
thermometer and just stop
Pop
the
it in?
machine, pop it in there, and check your dough temperature.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
so we're there. Now what we want to do is just very gently, we're going to mix in chocolate. Now
And
you can,
what is this?
This is
If you don't mind, could I?
Oh, please. You want to use a great quality chocolate.
So rich.
I love Verona. I love Calabo. You can use. It's really nice if you
Not at all
have
bitter.
a chunk as opposed to a chip. That's my preference. So if you want a big block, you can cut it. Just cut large pieces. If it's too small, it will kind of just melt and disappear.
Grainy into the bread.
And we want to
it?
see the chocolate in the
Yes.
final bread dough. Okay, so I'm going to dump
Oh, I
those
love
in.
your attitude about chocolate.
Oh gosh, right? If you're going to do it, then you have to do it.
Right. I agree.
Okay, and then we have
cherries.
sour cherries. Now you can plump these ahead of time in a little bit of warm water, but don't add so much water that you're going to have excess. You can let them just sit and plump in the water, maybe 5 minutes.
Okay.
Drain off any excess water and then put them in.
Very good.
Okay, now we're going to just very gently mix this.
Stay tuned for more. We're back with more from the Chef's Kitchen. I know baking is part of your program at the restaurant school too.
Yeah.
Correct? You do a lot with baking. We've worked with a lot of your baking staff here on the Chef's Kitchen.
Right.
And as a recent graduate, you'll be looking for a job soon, right?
That's right.
That's right. And we can actually try a lot of the baked goods in the restaurant
pastry shop,
school.
yep.
Very inexpensive way to enjoy some of the cool, interesting things that the students are preparing. We can
right.
dine in one of the restaurants.
Right.
5, I think there are.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so
now-
Tina, so now we put the dough. The dough has finished mixing. We put it into a lightly oiled bowl and we put
Yes.
it in the fridge overnight.
Okay.
And what will happen? It will slowly rise and develop all those sourdough kind of bread characteristics and lots of flavor. All that sourdough will mix with the chocolate, the cocoa.
And the dough, I love how
and
the
so
dough
you can
is
see
dark.
how spongy it is.
Yeah.
And the secret to a really good naturally leavened or sourdough bread is a long, slow, cool rise.
Okay.
So now this dough, we're going to turn it
We have
out.
15 minutes, chef.
Great. We're going to turn it out into a lightly floured surface.
Wonderful that we have these nice countertops to do it
Yes.
with. Very
We'll just
good.
set that
Thanks for
aside.
this.
Okay, and then I have here 2 banachons, and these are muslin cloth lined baskets. And I'm going to take some white rye flour, or you can
Yes.
use white rice flour, and I'm going to just dust and brush the inside
Interesting
of the
that you're
basket.
using white rice flour,
White rye flour or
White
white
rye or
rice
rice.
or white rice, exactly.
but not AP.
And that's because it absorbs a lot of moisture. So if you are putting a wet dough in there, then it will it will help it release.
That's a great tip.
A white flour actually doesn't absorb as much, and so it will end up sticking.
Sure.
Because all the moisture in the bread dough. I'm going to cut this in half, evenly as
It looks so
possible.
good even in this state, doesn't it?
Smell that.
Gosh.
All right. Rich, chocolatey.
Chocolate.
You can smell the cherries.
Chocolate, cherry.
Right. Wait till you taste the bread.
Amazing.
I'm going to simply now shape it into a round boule.
Okay.
And I do that in a kind of quick, swift motions. I turn it back over, and I'm going to round.
Ah.
Have you ever shaped bread before?
No, I have not.
It's really easy. So take this. If you
Yes.
would you like to try?
Sure, I would love to.
So lift it up,
Okay.
and I'll show you the easy way. And then
Okay, you show me.
Yep. And then just take that.
Okay, so just
fold
sort
it
of like-
over, and then turn it.
Right.
Turn it over. Right. Turn it.
Turn it.
And every time you turn it, you're going to
Okay,
produce
take-
this corner and
Take the
fold
corner.
that corner
Okay,
in.
I see.
Exactly.
So always fold the corner.
You are natural.
Oh, please.
You're fantastic.
Well, that's
okay.
because the Italian
That-
pastry thing, you know.
Look at you.
The whole pasta thing.
That's great. Now
Well, you
turn
have
it
an
over.
Italian grandmother,
I
don't
do.
you?
I do. She
Right?
was so inspirational to my beginning culinary.
Was she? Was she a great baker?
Yes, she was a very good baker. Okay, now turn it over.
Turn it completely over
Good.
like that?
Put your hands on the table and cup it. And then you're very gently going to round. And as you're rounding and your hands are staying on the table, you can feel the skin forming
Yes.
around the dough.
That's interesting, that process that takes place.
Once that's done, you're going to turn it over
Okay.
and you're going
And you
to
like almost grab it.
place it upside down, seam up into your floured banneton.
Okay.
That's great. Okay. Now we are going to just cover these loosely with some plastic.
Okay.
And we're going to leave them out on the counter for about an hour until we see activity. Then we're going to put them into the refrigerator overnight.
When you say see activity, you mean a little rising?
A little rising.
Okay.
Okay. So if you could take those away. It is the next day. I come in to my kitchen. I turn on the oven about an hour before I want to bake. I bring
Okay.
the loaves out of the oven, out of the refrigerator, I'm sorry, and I leave them on the counter to start proofing. To finish proofing.
To finish proofing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
because
they're
they've
cold at this
risen,
point.
they're cold, but they have risen. They will continue to rise for the first 4 hours while in the refrigerator. I put a pizza stone in my oven at 500 degrees. So now what I'm going to do, I'm ready to bake. You can see, you can test the bread, the loaf, by pressing. You can press that one. Press your finger.
And if it sticks?
Just take a little bit of flour, yeah, and press it. And you want it to hold its indentation.
Oh, I see.
There you go,
and that's
perfect.
a good sign.
That means it's ready.
Okay.
The other thing, if you can check an internal temperature, and you want it to go into the oven internally, it should be 64 degrees.
And if it's not, you let it sit some more? Is that what it is?
Exactly.
Okay.
But you want to be careful that it's not overproofing.
Yes.
Okay. So now, if your capacity of your baking stone in your oven will only accommodate one of these loaves, and these are fairly small loaves, then you can just bake one at a time. They're only going to take 35 to 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And so one is not going to overproof that drastically while you're waiting. Okay. So now I want to score the bread. So I take I'd use a single edge
little razor
blade.
Yes.
Okay. Or you can use a knife if you feel uncomfortable.
Is this how they did in Florence when you first tasted the bread?
Yes.
Where they served that in a bowl like this?
So I just want to
Rustic.
make very, very specific cuts.
Okay.
And the cuts, one, are for beauty, and then two, they help the bread to lift and rise appropriately during its final oven expansion.
And probably keep that shape too. I'm sure
Exactly.
they assist keeping in the shape. Okay.
Yeah. So why don't I put this one in the oven, and then
good.
while I'm doing that, I'll come back and you can do this one?
Perfect.
Okay, great. I put a breadstone, a pizza stone.
Right. Oh, so you're okay. That's right.
Right
That's
in the
over
oven,
that.
okay? The oven is at 500 degrees. I very, very carefully slide the bread in, and now what you want to do is I need to create steam to help it expand.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take, an atomizer. You can
right.
use
Everyone has
a
it.
plant, or you can use a tray with ice cubes, whatever. You want to work fast because you don't want to let all the heat out of the oven.
Right.
Okay. So I just spray all over the cavity oven. Be careful that you don't spray your light bulbs.
Yes.
Yeah, but otherwise it's perfectly safe to do.
Okay.
Now, I'm then going to turn the oven temperature down to 425, 450 degrees.
From 500, where it's been.
And then during the first 20 minutes of baking, I'm going to, every 5 minutes, go and spray.
Oh.
It likes a lot of moisture.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We now return to the chef's kitchen.
Would you like to try cutting one?
Interesting technique. I would love it.
Okay, so just a little semolina,
Right?
okay? Then, or cornmeal, and then go ahead, just turn it right out.
So turn it
And
right out.
Hold it and
Don't-
hold.
so it's
There you go.
important not to-
Perfect. And here's the razor.
Okay. So now
And so you want to just cut it. I do a
you do
star over the center.
Okay.
I hold it firmly with my left hand. There you go. Good.
Okay.
Again,
You cut
perfectly.
little slits.
And then I go slits
Inside the-
right in between, right
Okay.
on the crown of the loaf.
Okay. And you know what? It's interesting. It cuts so easily.
It does, right?
You would not think dough would cut this easily. It's just like a solid piece of gel or something.
Yes. Well, all the cocoa powder helps to absorb a lot of the water. That's why the dough, when we made the dough, was kind of on the wet side.
Yes.
Also, in sourdough speak, a wet dough helps to provide longevity to the final bread.
Ah.
Yeah, it's kind of a
interesting to know.
stabilizer as well
Yeah.
as the sourdough starter itself.
Very interesting.
Okay.
Metropolitan Bakery, you have been there since, is it 1993 you guys first opened
Since
the bakery?
1993, yes.
Wow, what a nice
Yes.
long tenure you've had at that location. You do a lot of good there too. Like, I know you're very interested in getting people out of poverty. Work you feel gets people out of poverty, so you do a lot of
in conjunction with
philanthropic work.
Project Home. We have a cafe in the free library with Project Home, and it's employed by people that are from Sister Mary Scollion's program.
That's
Yes.
wonderful.
It's
You do
really
a lot
wonderful.
of good at your bakery. It's important to note that.
Yes, and if I may, orange zest goes into that dough
Okay.
as well, and that's enhances again the chocolate flavor,
Oh,
and it's
absolutely.
wonderful with cherries.
Oh yes, I love orange and chocolate.
So now,
we have our
the loaf
bread.
has been kindly sliced for us.
Simon, why don't you come and join us?
Okay.
Right? It's one of the perks of being on the Chef's Kitchen. You get to enjoy such treats as
So
this.
you can see the texture of it is so moist.
Oh yes, it is. It's almost like a cake. Really is almost
Cake,
like a cake.
a brownie,
it's
a bread.
velvety.
What is it, right? When you eat this, what is it? Also, I turn this into bread pudding. Oh my God, if you take the thin slices, you lay it down in a casserole dish, pour over some vanilla bean custard, and then you bake that. It's so good.
With some whipped cream.
Once you taste it, you'll see though it really doesn't need an
This
embellishment.
this is a wonderful, delicious, almost like dessert-like bread. What other kinds of things do you have at the bakery?
Isn't that amazing?
That is not a sourdough bread.
No.
Even though it is, but it's not.
It's not. Is
This
it bread
like
or is it cake?
Is it brownie? No. Is it almost a flourless chocolate cake? No.
Right? It's delicious, isn't it?
It's like a mousse, but it's it's wonderful.
It's so good.
Rich chocolate flavor.
Yeah. So this is just one of the many breads that we make at the
Incredible.
bakery. We have
Name something.
naturally leavened breads. We do an organic miche, which is one of those big, 4.5 pound European style loaves, which has a lot of rye and whole wheat flour and a special flour called high extraction. It's a special 3-day process. We do most of the breads. We specialize in our naturally leavened breads based on our natural starter.
This is artisanal bread making at its finest. I
Yep.
mean, this is time-consuming process. You guys are, other than breads, what do you do?
We do lots of pastries. We do croissant and Danish from scratch and all kinds of pastry items, muffins and scones. We do cakes and tarts. When you come to Metropolitan Bakery, there is a plethora of items to choose from.
Are you inspired by your travels?
I am.
For this bread?
Always. Italy, France, and other countries.
No
Absolutely.
doubt. No doubt. Well, travel more. We love it. We love what comes out of it, don't we, Simon?
Yes.
This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Very, very good.
Thank you.
Chef James Barrett of Metropolitan Bakery, thank you so much for being here today in the Chef's Kitchen. Please come back soon. Share your travel adventures with us. Share your inspiration with us. And it's been great having you, Simon.
Thank you.
Recent graduate. Congratulations for that. We have a wonderful relationship with the restaurant school, and we're all about learning and sharing techniques and, training for the future.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The Restaurant School is the exclusive partner of the Chef's Kitchen for the education and training in the culinary arts. Breakfast provided by La Va Cafe. Lunch provided by Cafe Estelle.
For the viewer who is passionate about food and wine, the Chef's Kitchen provides tips and techniques from the country's most exclusive restaurants. Tune in next time to see one of the nation's top chefs such as George Perrier, Roberto Donna, Jose Garces, Michael Schlau, or Tony Clark, as they share their culinary talents and unique creativity. Learn how to make the delectable dishes and hip creations they're serving in today's restaurants, or impress your family with a culinary twist on tonight's dinner. Check our website for listings in your area or today's recipe.
I love being invited to participate in the Chef's Kitchen because I enjoy sharing my tips and techniques with the home viewer. And hopefully I can inspire somebody to bake bread or pastry at home.